Hello, everyone, and welcome to Athena Erie's Virtual Leadership Luncheon. I'm Linda Stevenson, Program Director for Athena Erie and founder of Erie's Athena PowerLink program. We know how busy you all are, so our session today will be a fast-moving 60 minutes. We will begin this presentation with Athena's founder, Martha Mertz, sharing her thoughts on leadership in 2020, followed by exploring a tenet of leadership in pre-designated rooms. Women's Leadership Day was developed to encourage women from all professional sectors to gather and extend a hand to one another. In doing this, we develop awareness of the important role women leaders are making in their responsibility to bring along future leaders. In the late 90s, Athena International developed the Athena Leadership Model, identifying the 8 core tenets of leaders that reflect women's unique ways of leading. For the past few weeks, we have shared these tenets listed on the screen with you to prepare for today's conversation. Athena International is a nonprofit organization committed to developing, supporting, and honoring women leaders from the classroom to the boardroom. I am pleased that Martha Mertz, founder of Athena International, is here today to share how the Athena Leadership Model can be applied to help navigate the ever-changing environment leaders are facing in 2020. I want to personally thank Martha for her vision, for being a role model, mentor, and champion for women. Martha, thank you for being here today and for inspiring us all to be better leaders. And to learn more about Martha, you can order her book, Becoming Athena, at athenainternational.org. Martha?
Thank you, Linda. And it is a pleasure to be joining all of you today. Even though we know that we are in really stormy times, everything is chaotic, upsetting, and constantly changing. That's not easy to deal with. Although these difficulties we face now are without precedent, there have been other times in our history that were just as stormy, just as uncertain, just as fearful, just different. I've been looking at what women did during some of those times. Sometimes they gathered together and shared, laughed, cried, and worked with their hands. It was the being together that was the key. Today, we will replicate that experience. In this gathering of our Athena family, we will further borrow from our grandmothers by making an imaginary quilt, an Athena Leadership Model quilt, using the Athena Leadership Model as our material. This will be a quilt of ideas, emotions, storytelling, exploring, and sharing the strengths we generate in facing today's storms. Quilt making is women's work, and quilts are women's art. Using a quilt as a metaphor, we will bring to our discussions the everyday homespun fabrics/aspects of ourselves and the occasional special colorful pieces that make each of us unique. Each principle will be one part of the quilt, ideas shared in the small groups. When we assemble back together as a whole, our quilt will become this group's personal reflection of the way we lead our lives, whatever we face, of the art of being who we are. We start with the single most important quality of leadership, living authentically. This one is bedrock important. It means understanding ourselves, how we're dealing with all this uncertainty, taking time to listen to that quiet inner voice, and especially now, asking, what do I need? In times like this, women often try to be there for everyone else. It's our second nature. But we also need to nourish ourselves. In being truly authentic, this inner core is the place to sometimes just sit calmly alongside our worries, and other times to give ourselves credit for new strengths that are growing within us. One final idea. the hardest battle we can wage in a world doing its best to make us everybody else is to remain who we are, to be nobody but yourself, especially now. Hold on to the core of yourself. And follow that with the value of learning constantly. Just think of it. We've had to learn about an obscure and devastating virus. Some of us have had to turn our homes into healthcare facilities or into schools and relearn 7th grade math. All around us, strange theories are rising, false data spreading confusion and fear while we search for trustworthy information. Being a positive role model in this environment has never been more important. We are teaching young people how to make sense of all of this. Where do we all look for answers? What do we learn about this aspect, learning constantly, of leadership in a time like this? Now, here's a hard question. How do we maintain and build relationships and find ways to foster collaboration in this strange virtual world? Humans are social creatures. We need each other. How are we fulfilling our social needs? What about those who are just getting started? Are there innovative ways like this gathering we can use to reach out to girls and young women so they can listen and speak and absorb the practices of leadership that we are modeling? Perhaps acting courageously is the biggest challenge. Holding up in the face of grief and loss and fear. We know it takes courage to seek and engage in difficult conversations about subjects like illness and vulnerability, but also about racism and misogyny, areas we as a society have been reluctant or afraid to dive into, but are now finding ways to more deeply understand. Is that where fierce advocacy comes in? Maybe this pandemic is allowing us to venture into new realms that need to be brought to light. Maybe these times are right for us to do that. And in this uproar, is there enough room in our spirits for giving back? Can we share a part of whatever extra resources we have to reduce the suffering this level of change causes? Is the concept of giving back an inspiration for us to ask what I can do, no matter how small, during these times? Perhaps the easiest principle for today is to celebrate that we are taking the time for this meaningful conversation, that we are nourishing ourselves with companionship and comfort drawn from each other, making our imaginary quilt, enjoying the light and spirit of knowing that our lives, even during these times, are works of art. I urge you to bring your authenticity, your vulnerability, your whole self to this special gathering, because now we need to be firmly planted. The Athena leadership model can provide a map for making the most artful life possible, no matter what is in front of us. Collaborating with the other people in your circle, thinking together, becoming stronger, resilient, aware, becoming more Athena. I find this final thought to be very inspiring. A friend sent it to me and it says, "Good leaders navigate through all weather. Profound leadership occurs during the storms." Think about that, during this storm. Let us today take our Athena leadership model map and the quilts of our resolve to stand squarely into the winds of change, and we will do that together. Thank you, my Athena friends.
Thank you to everyone for being a part of our first virtual leadership luncheon. And a very special thanks to Martha for setting the stage for today's program and to our sponsors who enabled this event to be held. I applaud our sponsors for supporting the development of women leaders in our community. When you have a choice of where to do your business, choose to support those sponsors who support women. Also, would you join me in a virtual applause to our ATHENA committee for taking on a huge challenge, and to our facilitators. I applaud your commitment to women leaders, giving back and choosing to make a difference. On behalf of the ATHENA committee, thank you for being here today. We ask that each of you be accountable, connect, collaborate, give back, and celebrate the leadership of women and change the status of women in business across our community to achieve gender and diversity in the process. Thank you and have a great day.